apparently December was just a month of disappointments, and that's okay, but at least do it well. Hi guys, welcome back to a page in the chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige, and today we're going to talk through all of the books I read in December. Wow, we are finally in 2021, and it's off to just as bad a start. If I seem a little bit off today, it's because not only did Boris Johnson announce another national lockdown in England, just as I'm about to go into my last term of university, I just finished Crescent City, and I'm really not doing okay. So yeah, I've just got layers of sadness right now. We got layers. If you are new here and you would like to stick around and see some of my other content, do please hit the big red subscribe button. It would mean a lot. Oh, things are weird right now. 2021 is not really what I wanted it to be, but I had so much hope during the month of December when I was reading these books. So let's go through them and go back to a happier time. The first book that I read in the month of December is called The Long Long Afternoon. I read this as a NetGalley arc, and it's not really something I would normally read, but it was emailed to me in one of those like NetGalley newsletters, and something about it just really called to me. So this is a mystery novel in like 1950s, 1960s America about Ruby, and Ruby is a black woman living in America during this time. She is the help of main family that we follow, and she actually has a really close relationship with the lady of the house, and then the lady of the house goes missing, and all that's left is like this big bloody kitchen. And it's about Ruby kind of like fighting against these racial stereotypes and just deciding that she's going to figure out what happened to this woman who she did consider a friend. Hi guys, editing me, just popping in here. I, whilst editing this video, have now found out that Inga, the author of this book, is a white woman, which kind of makes me want to go back and dock multiple stars. I don't really like the fact that a white woman has written a story about a black woman in the 1950s loving and being friends with her employer. I think that's kind of a whitewashed version of history. I really originally thought that this was written by a black woman, so I didn't have an issue with the story at the time, and I take full responsibility for that. I should have researched that from the get-go, but that's why I didn't have a problem with the fact that they were friends, because I thought this was written by a black woman. And the fact that it's written by a white woman just makes this whole relationship dynamic feel really uncomfortable to me now. So I'm not very happy with this book now. What I particularly enjoyed about this book is that the mystery unfolded in layers. You didn't just have like one big reveal at the end. You would like learn little bits and pieces throughout the book, so it wasn't just like boring backstory then big plot twist. It was like little tidbits fed to you throughout the entire time, and I thought that that worked really well. The next book that I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I have spoken about this before. I really did not enjoy this collection of short stories. These stories follow a coffee shop in Japan that allows you to go back in time, but the only catch is you have to drink your coffee before it gets cold, otherwise you get lost in time. And it's a really great idea conceptually, but it just didn't really work for me in practice. I thought the first short story had some issues in terms of the presentation of women. I can appreciate that perhaps that was more an issue with the translation rather than the actual book, but it's still an issue that I felt like I should raise. The second story I really enjoyed, but the others were just all a miss for me. I just wanted more from it, and it was a slog to get through. Each short story is only like 60 pages. They were not long to read, but this book took me forever because I just was not enjoying it, so it didn't really do it for me, I'm afraid. Then the next book I read is another one from NetGalley, and that is Christmas Ever After. I just wanted something Christmassy. It was the month of December. There are multiple Christmassy reads in this video. My issue with this book is that it was a major info dump. The first 50% of this novel was just backstory and info dumping. So this book follows our main character, and she is a romance author, and her last book was like a bit of a dud. No one liked it at all, and so her publishing house wants her to write a Christmas book, but she does not like Christmas, she doesn't celebrate Christmas, she's not into it. So as this big like marketing ploy, they send her to a Christmas camp. But when she's doing an interview about said Christmas camp, she accidentally leads the world to believe that she has this one great one that got away love, and that is what influences her writing. And so then all these past loves from her life turn up thinking that they are this great love she was talking about. And when you get to the 50% mark, these great loves still haven't turned up yet. Like, it was just too slow in the beginning, and then I found that the last 50% just didn't really sate my craving because it was all smushed in right at the end. I also just felt like our main character let absolutely everyone walk all over her. I don't really know how like the politics and the rules of writers working with like agents and publishing houses and all that. I don't know how that works, but I'm pretty sure you cannot just let your agent walk all over you the way she was doing. Surely she's employing him. I don't know. I really hated that. We also did have a main character that like literally every single other main character fell in love with them. And not only did every male character fall in love with this character, but every female character was obsessed with her and wanted to be her best friend. Like, I'm sorry, she's a romance author. She's not writing the next great American novel. She should not really have the fan base that she apparently had. I don't know anyone who like fangirls and follows authors that way. It really bugged me. It kind of just felt like the author was living out her dreams on the pages, and that's okay, but at least do it well. So then after reading Christmas Ever After, I had a massive change of tone and I read Wilder Girls by Rory Powers. This is like a sapphic horror thriller about these girls at this boarding school, and they have this deadly virus that is mutating them and turning them into like part animal type deal. Follows them at this boarding school. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was unlike anything else I'd ever read, and it was a nice little toe in the water for me in terms of reading thrillers. However, this book is hyped up so much and I was really expecting more from it. I'd also heard that it had a really divisive ending, and so I was reading it like, okay, it's not a 5 stars, but even if the ending is like super divisive, at least that has then something going for it. I don't see how people have complaints with this ending or how this ending is divisive. It was such a meh ending. It was nothing. Like, it fit the story. If I hadn't been told that the ending was dividing people, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. I gave it a 4 star, like I really enjoyed it, but it was just a little bit of a miss for me. Like, I was disappointed that it didn't blow me away. And apparently December was just a month of disappointments, because then we have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This book also wound its way onto my worst books of the year list. This was just boring. So this is kind of like a retelling of like Rumpelstiltskin, I think. Is it Rumpelstiltskin, the one where she has to turn straw into gold? I think so. This is like a retelling of that with 2 very strong female characters. One of our female characters has the ability to turn silver into gold, or it's believed that she has the ability to turn silver into gold, and this leads her into some trouble when this like evil king hears this power and is like, I'm gonna marry you so you can fund my country. It was so boring. This is not the kind of retelling that I want. For first, again, big section of the book is just very much like backstory and learning the characters. When I was reading it, it was just kind of like, ugh, why do we have so much backstory? And then it turned out that the backstory was the most interesting part of this book. I just got lost, and it wasn't from lack of trying. I very rarely get lost in actual physical copies of books because I just find them easier to read. But I hated this. I was literally like reading it and being like, I hate this book so much, I want to DNF, and then everyone that was around me would be like, why don't you just DNF it? Like, life is short. And I was like, but I'm already 300 pages in, so why waste a week of my Goodreads goal? Oh my god, this sucked. Then I read another Christmas book called How to Stuff Up Christmas by Rosie. This was just your typical Christmas chick lit. It was nothing special. It was fun. The beginnings of the chapters have like little recipes on them, which I thought was a really cute like addition, and it kind of was immersive and I enjoyed it. I will say that I really thought that I had predicted the plot twist in this book, and I hadn't at all. The plot twist came like completely out of left field. I don't know if that's because the book like handled the plot twist well, or if I was like reading way too deeply into it. I just think, for me, I know it's a Christmas chick lit, so I should have predicted this, but this had way too much of a happy ending. Like, you don't need to resolve every single conflict in your life at the end of a book. She could have just found love and moved on and been happy, and I'd have been happy with that ending. But then she forgave people who I felt really didn't deserve forgiveness, and that bugged me. Then, because I had it, I picked up Let It Snow by Sue Moorcroft. This was a DNF. I read the prequel, the prologue, I don't know, whatever it's called in this book. I've read the first chapter in a bit basically and just decided that this really wasn't what I was in the mood for. There was nothing particularly against it. I didn't read enough of it to really have an issue with it. I'm just a big mood reader and I wanted something Christmassy, but yeah, this didn't really do it for me. And then finally, my luck turned around. I read Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This book is so different to the movie, and I knew that going in, but like, wow, it really hits you. I was a little sad that some like key scenes from the movie that I loved weren't in this book, but that completely makes sense. I mean, this is a 200-page book. Of course, they would have had to add stuff to fluff out the movie, but I do think that they did the adaptation really, really well, and I love this book kind of in a completely different way than I love the movie. This is like aimed much more for an older audience, so like you get a lot more action. It's quite gory at times. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. It was a really nice pick-me-up after some of the trash that I had been reading so far. And then on New Year's Eve I picked up The 12 Dates of Christmas. I really enjoyed this. It was Christmas chicklit trash, but it was the best kind of trash. I just had a really fun time reading this. So this follows our main character and she has like a really successful career. She's having like a really great time in life, but her best friend signs her up for this like dating program that promises to find you love by Christmas, and you have to go on 12 dates on the lead up to Christmas. And it follows her on all of these dates and it's just so funny. I just had such a good time. It was really predictable, but like in the best way. You saw what was coming, but you still had fun with it. This book was literally Bridget Jones, but the Christmas element was even stronger in this book than it is in Bridget Jones. You couldn't ask for more from Christmas chicklit trash, really, could you? Like, it was great. And then for the final book that I read in the month of December was one that I also read on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because apparently after Christmas Day I just stopped reading. That is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. We kind of all saw this coming. Like, you have to read A Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve / Christmas Day. It's a Christmas ghost story and it's wonderful. I have been kind of reading Dickens slowly, but I've been making an effort to pick up his books and read Dickens. I find he's one of the few classic authors that I do actually really enjoy. I find his writing really accessible. I love the politics in his books. I think it's really fun. This is a book that is credited for the revival of how we celebrate Christmas. The introduction in this book says that that's kind of falsely accredited because it was already in revival, and then this book kind of just added to it and spurred it on a little bit further, but it was still super interesting to read and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Dickens. I now have a whole host of classics, among which there is plenty of Dickens, so I'm excited to like read more of him and just see more of his politics and ideology play out, because it's really interesting. And so here we have all of the books plus a couple of ebooks that I read in the month of December. It was a pretty good reading month for me in terms of number. I hit my Goodreads goal thanks to this month. It was like all very nice in that sense. However, there were a hell of a lot of letdowns this month. Mostly 2-star and 3-star reads, which is disappointing and probably my worst reading month of the year, because I had a great reading year and apparently all the ones I disliked just kind of came in December, which is sad, but it's okay. Thank you very much for watching this video, especially if you made it this far. I do hope you enjoyed my December wrap up. If you did and you want to check out some of my other content, I have a whole playlist dedicated to my wrap ups, and you can subscribe and stay tuned for future content, because wrap ups are some of my favourite to film and I have some videos that I'm pretty excited about coming up, so you want to stick around and stay tuned for that. Thank you again for watching and I will see you on Friday for my next video. Bye guys.